JJ McCarthy declared for the NFL draft this past weekend, and I was a little bit shocked. I'll be totally honest with you. I have no clue, absolutely no earthly idea how good of a prospect JJ McCarthy is, and I don't know how to scout him to find out. Normally with prospects like this, you would point to a game here or there that would indicate they have traits that will translate to the NFL level. And normally you want to do that against a player's best opposition. In McCarthy's case, you'd want to be able to point to an Ohio State game, an Iowa game, a Penn State game, a playoff matchup where JJ McCarthy showed up. I'm thinking of CJ Stroud. There were some questions about Stroud as a prospect because he was playing with the best receivers in college football, a great offensive line. He was never sacked. He just was able to sit back in the pocket and destroy opposing defenses because he's throwing to Jackson Smith-Njigba, Emeka Egbuka, Marvin Harrison Jr., Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave. The list goes on and on and on. And you've got some of that same thing going on here with JJ McCarthy, but in a bit of a different way. And CJ Stroud had the performance against Georgia in the college football playoff to show that against great opposing defenses, and when Ohio State was on the ropes, CJ Stroud could come through for them and deliver. And it wasn't CJ Stroud's fault that they lost that game. He played fantastic. The problem with JJ McCarthy is you don't have a game to point to, a performance to point to say that is going to work in the NFL. Because, and it's no fault of his own, he's just never been asked to do that for Michigan's offense. This is a run game-based, defense-based team. And unfortunately for JJ McCarthy, it just did not leave a whole lot of room on the table for him to eat. They just didn't need it. If you go to 2023 and just look at his stat sheet against all the best teams that they played. So against Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa, Alabama, Washington. Here are the stats that JJ McCarthy that he put up in these games. Against Penn State, 7 of 8. That's right, 8 pass attempts in an entire game for 60 yards. Against Ohio State, it was 16 of 20 for 148 yards and a touchdown. Against Iowa, it was 22 of 30 for 147 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Alabama, 17 of 27, 221 yards, 3 touchdowns. Washington, it was 10 of 18 for 140 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. The common thread amongst all these games is that in the big games when Michigan had to have it, they did not rely on the passing game. So what you get from JJ McCarthy is you get stat lines where he throws 18 pass attempts in the national championship, where he throws 8 times against Penn State, where he throws 20 times for 140 yards against Ohio State, because Michigan did not rely on JJ McCarthy to be the difference between winning and losing. They relied on Blake Corum, on Donovan Edwards on that offensive line. They relied on constricting their opponents slowly to death and ultimately winning comfortable margins. So what do you do with JJ McCarthy as a prospect? I have no idea. I have absolutely no clue how to point to something that says he's going to be a great pro, because he just never was asked to put those sorts of things on tape. There's a couple throws here and there where you can say, that'll work, that'll do it. But you had that same sort of issue with Zach Wilson, where you have moments on his game tape when you go, that'll do, that'll work. Problem with him was, and the reason why he has not worked out at the NFL level, is that he was not asked to break down opposing defenses to process what they were doing. All he had to do was sit behind his great offensive line and pick lesser competition apart. That's what JJ McCarthy did at Michigan. Does that mean he can't be a great NFL pro? No. He can still succeed at the NFL level. He still might have tools that he just hasn't been asked to use that will translate to the NFL level and turn him into a great pro prospect. But if I'm an NFL team, I am not touching him with a 10-foot pole because I have no idea. And the problem with McCarthy is that he's going to go in the first 2 rounds and be owed first 2-round money and also be attached to first 2 rounds expectations from these NFL teams. If he's drafted in the first round especially, the fan base of whoever drafts him is going to expect to see him on the field at some point in his first 2 seasons, and he's going to have to learn and develop as an NFL player. And again, all of this could be for naught. He could be great. He could possess a whip of an arm. He could possess great processing ability and was just never asked to do it. But if I'm an NFL GM, if I'm trying to establish who are the best prospects going into the NFL draft, McCarthy is not going to be on the list. I'm going to default to guys that I have seen be great at different points in their career. Caleb Williams, Drake May, maybe not has the overall overwhelming body of work, but you've seen so many flashes of greatness. Michael Penix has picked apart enough great defenses to say, all right, that's going to work. That'll translate. Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix have produced in a way that says this could work. With JJ McCarthy, it's all question marks. It absolutely could work out, but am I betting on it? Wouldn't touch that one with a 10-foot pole.